Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Al24 Nightly News. I'm your host, Miriam Zian, and here are your top stories. The International Court of Justice stopped short Friday on ordering ceasefire in Gaza and ordered Israel to take steps to prevent acts of genocide in Gaza. The Gaza Ministry of Health has reported that food, anesthetics and painkillers have run entirely out at the Nasser Medical Complex in Khan Yunis, which is under siege for the sixth day in a row. And Algeria has expressed regret and deep concern over the Malian authorities' denial of the peace and reconciliation agreement in Mali, which resulted from the Algiers process, highlighting the gravity of the decision, which impacts not only Mali but the whole international community. Hello again and welcome. The United Nations Top Court stopped short Friday on ordering a ceasefire in Gaza. The court said the occupation must take steps to prevent acts of genocide in Gaza. The Zionist occupation has killed more than 26,000 people in Gaza since October 7. The Zionist entity has been widely accused of carrying out war crimes in the Palestinian territory.
The court considers that, with regard to the present situation, Israel must, in accordance with its obligations under the Genocide Convention, in relation to Palestinians in Gaza, take all measures within its power to prevent the commission of all acts within the scope of Article 2 of the Convention, in particular, A, killing members of the group, B, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, C, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, and D, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. The court recalls that these acts fall within the scope of Article 2 of the Convention when they are committed with the intent to destroy in whole or in part the group as such.
And for more insights into the ruling, we're having with us tonight Mr. Hamoud Salhi, Professor in Political Sciences, for more insights. Mr. Hamoud Salhi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me, Miriam.
You're welcome. The ICJ has ordered Israel to prevent acts of genocide in Gaza in a crucial moment in history. How do you think this historical decision by the World Court made things change for the better and help dismantle a regime of oppression?
This is a major historic decision made by the highest legal organization in the world. It is the organization that the United Nations established. It was created, in fact, in 1919. It continued its function in 1945. So this is a major, major decision. It's a win and it's testimonial to the struggle that the Palestinians are leading. And more than anything else, it's an indictment of the Israelis' continued aggression, genocidal acts against the Palestinians.
Mm-hmm. Although there was not a clear statement of a ceasefire today, but isn't it the end of exemption from punishment and injustice?
It is very interesting. You have to follow and you have to look at how the ICJ make this decision. ICJ is a legal institution. It is an international organization designed to take cases that are legal in nature. So the decision to demand or to stop Israel from stop the war is a political decision. What the court laid for and established is that there are enough evidence to ask Israel, the Zionist states, to take actions to look into its activities that are genocidal in nature, to ask the Israelis to ensure to meet the urgent need for humanitarian services, and to look into the action that it is doing, which amount to genocides. The politicians, the diplomat, the public opinion is looking or is expecting the court to say that, but the court is saying, look, there is enough there for Israel to stop its war, its actions, its genocide against the Israelis. And the fact that the court accepted to look at the case is another indication that this is a very, very sort of move, a good move for the realization of the recognition of the Palestinians, and implied demanding that Israel stop what it's doing.
Do you think this ruling of the ICJ is a Biden decision? Do you think that the Zionist entity, with the help of the US and its other allies, will ignore this decision or rather abide by it?
So, Israel are notorious for denying everything that goes against them. They were on record before the start of this organization, attacking South Africa and claiming that this is not fair to them. Even after the decision, the Israelis from all parties went ahead and attacked the court and thought this is an injustice against them. So it is expected, and there are thousands of reasons to believe that they will not abide by it. But here where the issue is. The court established foundations that what Israel is doing needed to look at seriously, and it amounts to genocides. The third parties, particularly the United States, may now have to look to take second thought. The Israeli allies may have also to look at Israeli action with the perception that there is a legal foundation, particularly that the Israel has to come back in a month to report on its activities. So there is a lot of there to take use this ruling as a diplomatic pressure against Israel, against the United States, and more and that will play out very well in the public opinion, demonstration in the street, also at the General Assembly, a different institution. So this is why Israel is concerned, and from the start are coming to go against this. The United States is expected to issue some kind of declaration later today, but overall, it's even though it is not binding, there are a lot of ways of how this decision will be very, very effective in helping the Palestinians achieve their statehood and treated with dignity and fair.
Thank you very much for all the insights you brought tonight, Mr. Hamoud Salhi. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mariam, and take care.
Thank you. And we carry on with our file. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa celebrated today with party members as they were watching the World Court ruling on the Zionist entity live on a big screen. South Africa hailed what it called a decisive victory for international rule of law after the International Court of Justice ordered the occupation to take action to prevent acts of genocide as it wages a war against innocent Palestinians in the Gaza Strip.
We expect Israel, as a self-proclaimed democracy and a state that respects the rule of law, to abide by the measures handed down by the International Court of Justice. After more than half a century of occupation, dispossession, oppression, and apartheid, the Palestinian people's cries for justice have been heeded by an eminent organ of the United Nations. Today, Israel stands before the international community, its crimes against the Palestinians laid bare.
Ahead of the ruling on Friday, South Africa's foreign minister said the country had brought the suffering of Palestinians front and center. South Africa has asked for an immediate halt of the Zionist aggression against Palestinians, which has killed more than 26,000 people and caused lots of damage to Gaza.
course, South Africa is hopeful. We've always approached this case in a positive spirit, but our core purpose was really that it is vital to highlight the plight of the innocent in Palestine and to also alert the international community to the great harm that is being done to the people of Palestine, to public institutions, and to the general order in that area, and also draw attention to the lack of justice and freedom over many, many decades, much of which has been ignored by the world. So today, I think, the Palestinian issue is front and center of the world, and that is a very important achievement through this case brought by South Africa.
South African Justice Minister Ronald Lamola said on Friday that the occupation has failed to disprove accusations of genocide brought before the International Court of Justice by South Africa. Here is Ronald Lamola.
The state of Israel today has failed to disprove South Africa's compelling case that was presented before the court yesterday. We stand by the facts, the law, and all the evidence we have submitted yesterday. And we believe and stand very confident that those facts, the law, still are in violation of the Genocide Convention.
And 14 Palestinians, predominantly women and children, lost their lives in a Zionist bombing targeting the central Gaza Strip on Thursday evening. Medical sources reported 3 casualties in a house hit in the Zawaida area, while 11 citizens were martyred and others injured during a raid on a house west of the Nusayrat camp. During the aggression, the Nasser Medical Complex in Khan Yunis faced violent artillery shelling, coupled with heavy gunfire towards the complex, courtyards and buildings. In the past 24 hours, the Zionist occupation committed 19 massacres against families in the Gaza Strip, resulting in 183 martyrs and 377 wounded, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza. The death toll of the Zionist aggression since October 7 has risen to 26,083 martyrs and over 64,000 wounded, with victims still under the rubble, roads inaccessible, and the occupation hindering ambulance and defense crews. The Nasser Medical Complex in Khan Yunis is under siege for the 5th consecutive day and has completely run out of food, anesthetics, and painkillers, as confirmed by the Ministry of Health in Gaza. The complex, housing 150 health personnel, 350 patients, and displaced families, faces dire conditions of starvation and lack of treatment. The World Health Organization Director Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus called for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and a real solution to the Zionist aggression on Gaza, describing the conditions in the Strip as very bad and hellish. He said in a meeting with the Executive Council of the organization that what is happening in Gaza is beyond words, adding that the ceasefire has been long overdue, reiterating that there is no safe place in Gaza.
It's always possible. If we look for a solution, it's always possible. It's only the will that's required. And I'm a true believer, because of my own experience, that war doesn't bring solution, except more war, more hatred, more agony, more destruction. So let's choose peace and resolve this issue politically. I think all of you have said the two-state solution and so on, and hope this war will end and move into a true solution. Struggling to speak because because the situation is beyond words. The situation in Gaza has actually deteriorated since the EB special session in December. By the way, yesterday and today we've been working on some serious crisis. We believe as WHO that ceasefire is long overdue. And as we have said many times, no one and nowhere is safe in Gaza.
The number of people facing possible starvation in the Gaza Strip in the coming weeks is considered as the largest share of population at risk of famine identified anywhere, according to experts. Marwa Belaiwar.
Struggling with hunger and skyrocketing prices, Gazans have resorted to grinding barley and corn kernels as a flour alternative for bread, facing a shortage of wheat in the enclave.
The bread made using this flour is dry. This flour is dry. Do you know? It's so dry. You can't dip it into anything. And even this flour, we can't find. We have been searching since this morning for 3 kilos of flour, and we can't find it. Me and my brother have been searching since the morning.
Hunger stalks the entire Gaza Strip, the tiny enclave where 2.3 million people have been living under Zionist bombardment since October 7. The United Nations warned this week that pockets of the territory face famine, while areas near the Egyptian border get limited supplies of imported food. People in the north and center of the Strip, where fighting has been fiercest, face catastrophe, aid workers said.
Better than horrific is not much better. So the food situation in the north is absolutely horrific. There's almost no food available, and everybody we talk to begs for food and comes to us and asks, where's the food? We bring in medical supplies. People help us get our medical supplies through, but they are constantly telling us that we need to come back with food, and that's not possible for a number of reasons, including coordination and security concerns.
No comprehensive data on hunger is available for Gaza, with aid agencies struggling to move and communicate amid the fighting. They plan to assess malnutrition by measuring around children's arms for signs of wasting flesh.
So the severe acute malnutrition that you've mentioned before is the deadliest form of hunger, and it's the biggest threat right now in Gaza. And essentially, like you said, it happens when an individual, and most often a child, doesn't get the right vitamins, minerals, and proteins that their body needs to grow and function properly. So initially, when food intake is restricted, the body will rely on any energy reserves for fuel to keep basic organ functions working and body movements possible. But if that restricted intake continues and increases, then the body will turn to breaking down protein, which includes muscle and even vital organs, using that for energy then to survive.
Medics in Gaza hospitals describe babies born sick to malnourished mothers, infants losing weight, mothers unable to produce breast milk, and injured patients too weak from hunger to fight off infection.
France's foreign ministry urged Israel to respect international humanitarian law in the Gaza Strip. A statement from the ministry specified that Paris condemns the deadly attack carried out on Wednesday by the Israeli army against a UN center housing displaced people in the town of Khan Younis. The statement also said that France will continue to support humanitarian workers, affirming that the protection of the civilians is both a moral obligation and an international responsibility. As the occupation army's aggression includes the entire Gaza Strip, tens of thousands of Palestinians endure forced displacement, some fleeing for the third time with relentless bombings persisting for over 110 days. A significant portion of Gaza's population finds themselves homeless. Hussein Berkan.
Escaping on foot amidst bullets and shelling, the people of Khan Younis seek refuge in Rafah, carrying whatever mattresses they can to endure the harsh winter, uncertain of when they can return home. Innocent women and children bear the brunt of this tragic journey, a testament to the cruelty inflicted upon Gaza's families.
May Allah take vengeance on them. May Allah avenge us from all you nations. Allah is our deputy, and He is the disposer of our affairs. May what happened to us happen to you. May Allah take vengeance on all the nations. May it happen to your sons and daughters.
The deliberate planning of brutality by the Zionist forces is evident, directing displaced Gazans towards alleged safe havens, only to attack them with planes and tanks. The cycle of forced displacement perpetuates, one flight following another.
I was in the school, in the shelter, hiding in the school. The Jewish forced me out with my sick child. They said they were going to blow up the school in an hour. I've been walking for an hour so far. These young men are helping me.
Even the disabled bear witness to the occupation's brutality, violating all human values. The ugliness of the scene surpasses description, as the 112 days of brutal war on Gaza continue to inflict forced displacement, deepening the tragedy for exhausted Palestinians.
The Zionist occupation army acknowledges that 38 officers and soldiers were injured in battles in the Gaza Strip over the last 24 hours. The total injuries since the beginning of the war reached 2,748, with 1,258 since the beginning of the ground attack. Algeria has taken note with great interest of the decision of the International Court of Justice related to the complaint logged by South Africa and the Zionist entity for genocide in Gaza. A communiqué by the Algerian Foreign Ministry said the ICJ's decision is evidence of the rightful initiative of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, who was the first president to call for massively referring the many crimes perpetrated by the Israeli occupation forces to international judicial bodies. And in other developments, Algeria has taken note with great and deep concern of the denunciation by the Malian authorities of the peace and reconciliation agreement in Mali stemming from the Algiers process, highlighting the seriousness of the decision, which not only affects Mali itself, but the international community overall, which has put all its weight and lots of means to help Mali recover its stability through national reconciliation. The Algerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the national community abroad said in a press release on Friday that Algeria has a duty of information towards the brotherly Malian people who know that Algeria has never failed to work towards the implementation of the agreement with sincerity, good faith, and an unwavering solidarity towards sister Mali. The same source added that the Malian people should know and convince themselves that the long list of reasons given in support of the denunciation of the agreement does absolutely not correspond in any way whatsoever to the truth or reality. And the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, received on Friday a phone call from the Italian Prime Minister, Ms. Giorgia Meloni, during which the two sides held in-depth talks on common regional issues, most notably the Italian-African Summit, which will be hosted by the Italian capital, Rome, at the end of the current month, and in which Algeria will be represented by Mr. Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad. During the meeting, the Mattei plan aimed at building a new partnership between Italy and the countries of the African continent will be launched. The call between the two sides also allowed the issue of illegal immigration to be addressed. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, our news bulletin has come to an end. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.